Waking self.
Awakened. Awakened. The self which actually is awake and realizes that there's something beyond itself. Yeah.
I am a choice.
You're a choice. A choice. You get to choose. D? Dot? Michelle? Yeah. You get to pick. In one moment you can choose to be the self, in another moment you can choose to be the no self. Yeah.
In this voice I now have a priority in my still existing list of desires and aspirations. And that is, I would like everyone to experience this.
Ah.
And then the reality is how to set about that. That's tough. That's, you're not me. And that's working with differences.
So George says, as the voice that transcends and includes both the self and the no self, he would like everybody to experience this. Because if they did, they'd be a lot easier to interact with, wouldn't they? Yes.
But I accept that.
You are who you are, and you accept it. Yeah.
My struggle, my suffering is my life.
Yeah. Your struggling and your suffering is your life, and it's okay. You can take it. Yeah.
I was going to say, I have more perspective about myself.
Yeah, if you have more perspective, when you are no self, you can look at the self suffering and put it in perspective, in the larger perspective. Yeah.
When I can choose. I'm a complete being. So when I get in a place where I'm trying to create something or do something, and my inner self becomes like inversion, like really compressed or pressure, I can smell the smog. Now I can pop out of that. I can choose to pop out of that into a clean spot and let that clear, and then go back and create with freshness.
Okay.
I have that ability to choose now.
Okay. Did you all hear that? The ability to move back and forth between the two. When the self becomes claustrophobic, becomes knotted up, won't let go, you can move into the other space. Yes, Bethany?
I think it's roughly the same thing, but I see someone that can cause pain, but also someone that can ease the suffering.
Ah, somebody who can act to cause pain, but can also ease the suffering at the same time. Yeah.
I have resources and I have the skill.
Oh,
Like I can channel it through.
I have the resources and the skill, so I can channel that energy, that skill where it needs to go. Yeah.
The oil and the water can be shaken together and the result is something that's good.
Ah, you can mix the oil and the water and you get something that's good. Yes.
I have choice, I have some resources, but in this place I can see and be real about what they are and what their limits are. And I have, I can plan. I also know that it never works out, and I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Because that's just a new challenge.
So your limitations are acceptable. Because from the other perspective, there are no limits. Yes.
I can manifest the no self through the self.
I can manifest the no self through the self. Is the self anything other than the no self? In some way?
I don't know.
Yeah. Don't know. Don't know.
Does it
Yes.
matter?
Does it matter? There you go. Does it matter? Yes.
I'm always fighting for a balance.
You're always fighting for a balance, looking for a balance. Okay, yes.
Feels like power, but there's no motive.
Ah, that's good. It feels like power, but there's no motive. So you're just a power source that's available as needed, but without a motivation of its own. So when called on, it's available. When things arise that require it, it's there. It responds. It's flexible, infinitely flexible. Ultimately, at ease. Is it at ease? Does it feel comfortable?
Doesn't know.
What was it? I didn't.
Does it feel comfortable
That
to
time.
be this, the voice that transcends and includes the self and no self?
Yeah.
Yeah.
From this place, I am observing. I'm watching this person go back and forth between the two. And when it's necessary to struggle and strive and desire and make lists and be all that, I am. And then also when it's necessary to be at peace and accepting and understanding, I am. So I'm observing myself switch back and forth between the two.
So would you say you have wisdom?
Indeed.
So you have wisdom. You know when to be the no self and when to be the self, when to come from one and when to come to the other, when to deploy the power that's available in a choiceless sort of way. Yes.
Myself feels frustrated that I can't be the myself all the time. And I wonder, is it ever necessary to like struggle and to suffer and to get angry, or is it ever really necessary to be the self?
Well, the question is, she says it feels like you want to be the no self, and you don't want to be the self that gets angry and frustrated and struggles. Well, as the voice that transcends the self and the no self, if you're really flexible and fluid, are you going to need to get angry and struggle? Now that's, yes.
As the observer of in the third place, I see that suffering and struggle and anger is the mechanism by which I can become more awake.
Because if you struggle and suffer, you can approach, then that suffering triggers your awareness of...
There's something about that energy of doing that, but experiencing that, not knowing, that informs, that creates the opposite.
So by experiencing the world as the self and coming up against obstacles and desires, that makes you aware that you are experiencing them as a self and that you have the ability to shift and experience them otherwise. Yes, right there. Right behind you. Yeah.
They combine, they make one, they're united.
They combine, they just make one. They aren't separate at all. Yes.
And as the self and the no self, I can experience the anger, the struggle, the suffering, but I don't have to identify with it, and I don't have to attach.
I don't have to attach to the struggling and the suffering, even if I experience it. Yeah.
I was just going to say that the self to me is the active role, the no self has the wisdom to observe, and together it's symbiotic.
They're symbiotic. They work together sort of to produce more than the sum of the parts, if you will. Back there. Okay?
Yeah, all of these experiences of self, that, getting sad, frustrated, and all of these things, those are really where I connect with humanity. These are sort of the portal to really have empathy for myself, everybody else's self, and realize that we're just sort of all cut from the same cloth and in the same boat, really.
So what she's saying is that it's through the suffering, through the experiencing the pain of the self, that you recognize that everybody else suffers also. Because as the no self, you're everything. So you can see that we all suffer. We all are frustrated. We all have desires. We all have fears. and it gives you empathy.